Hi, this is Jessica Morris. I'm here with Elias from The Man Cave, and I'm talking about my movie The Pool Boy Nightmare that premieres on Lifetime September 7th at 8 p.m. Eastern. Check it out.
Welcome to another episode of the Man Cave Chronicles.
Welcome to the party, pal!
You're my boy, Blue!
Yo, Adrian!
A podcast with interviews of amazing guests from the world of pop culture.
Oh, yeah!
TV.
Nice!
Movies.
Oh, I love the movies!
Comedy and more. From deep inside the Man Cave, your host, Elias.
Jessica, welcome to the cave.
Oh, thank you. It's nice to be here.
How are you? What's new with you?
What's new with me? Things are sort of starting to go back to normal. Whereas, some filming is taking place with like a lot of precautions in place.
Yeah.
But I'm happy about that because I'm excited to get back to work more full time.
How did the whole quarantine thing treat you?
Well, there's good and bad in this situation, I think, because, I was doing without work for a bit, which sucks, but also, I think me and a lot of people I know were kind of collectively manifesting a break, like saying, I just need a minute to breathe, a minute to stop, and so we got that, there's a lot of negatives too, because a lot of people have gotten sick, so I wouldn't have taken the break. I would have preferred to sacrifice the break for, and not have people get sick and not have us be in a pandemic. However, if I'm trying to look on the bright side of things, it has been sort of nice to slow down for a second.
Yeah. So when I was doing some research on you, you've done a lot of projects. The listeners know you from One Life to Live, but you've also done shows on Amazon Prime. You've done Lifetime movies. Now you got a new movie coming out called Pool Boy Nightmare, which we'll talk about there. Have you ever had a break? You've been working for many years. Not counting the pandemic and everything, but have you ever had a break?
I don't really take a break that much. It's kind of sad, actually. 'Cause I think if you get to the point in your career where you're, making a buttload of money in one film, then you can sort of, and you're like an A-lister or something, you can take time off in between the projects. But when you're someone at my level, I feel like I am constantly hustling.
Yeah.
Which I like, but it can be exhausting, I will admit.
Now, for the listeners, let's get to know a little bit more about you. How old were you, and you kind of had an idea that you wanted to get into the entertainment industry?
Well, I was a teenager. I started doing plays in school, and when I was on the stage, that was the one time that I had extreme confidence, and people were very shocked to see that because it wasn't like my normal self. And I just, for some reason, felt really at ease playing other characters and playing make-believe. So I guess I sort of dabbled in it then, and then I did my first professional acting job in Tokyo, Japan when I was 16. I went there to work with a modeling agency and booked a commercial. And I hated modeling, just people telling me how to pose or how to stand, but, and everything being based on your looks. But when I was on that set shooting the commercial, I had so much fun, and I was like, this is where I belong. I can play, and people like it when I'm playing. They're, giving me pats on the back, telling me. I just felt like I was in my element. So I'm like, okay, this is what I need to do with my life.
So, when you told your family this is what you want to do, what was their reaction at such a young age?
My mom, she knows that I'm very willful, and that no matter what she would say, I was always going to do what I was going to do anyway. So she just fully supported me. My dad was a little worried, because it is a hard career, and he's right. He was right about that, but there's nothing that could have stopped me. But now that I've, made some success and gotten work, he is very proud of me.
Yeah. Did you take acting classes, or did you just jump right into it?
I did. Both. I came out to LA when I was 18 or 19 and basically just got into classes right away. And then also got an agent within like a month and was like, I'm ready, send me out for everything. And I wasn't really ready, and I screwed up probably a lot of great opportunities. But I just wanted to be thrown into the lion's den, and I just wanted to go for it, and I did.
So when you moved to California, what was your first gig that you got?
My very first job was a horror film that I played the lead of, and the movie did not turn out so great, but it was an incredible experience because it was about these, camp counselors in the woods, and most all of us were around like 19, 20 years old, and it was most of our first job. So we just, our acting wasn't very good. We weren't very experienced, but we just had a blast. We became all really good friends. I became roommates with the other actress for about 2 years. The two guys on the movie became roommates for about 5 years or more or something. We all just became really tight, and it was so fun.
How old were you when you got into like the soap opera world?
I was 21.
So there was only a couple years,
just like a couple years.
couple years in, right?
Yeah, exactly. A couple years in, I booked that, and I was loving California. And they're like, "Oh, by the way, in like a couple weeks, you're moving to New York City for 5 years."
Wow.
And I was so pumped, but also just kind of rocked by that,
Yeah. So, well, you started at a young age. Like, what do you tell like these, I guess, kids that try to get to the acting world at a young age? What kind of advice do you give them?
Well, I would say don't let I guess that's not really an option anymore since people don't really go to parties. The world's a little bit different. But,
right.
If things were like they were, I would say, don't let the party scene and the red carpets and all that stuff, don't let it get in the way of you doing the work. Really focus, because there's the other actor or actress who is completely focusing, and it's, you want to be that person who books the job and, and who doesn't wake up hungover. You want to just be focused on the work and not get caught up in other things. And then I guess I have two other bits of advice. I would say have some other kind of skill, not as a plan B, but just that if you're so desperate for the work, it makes your auditions not as strong because it can sense desperation. And if you have some other way to make money and a skill on the side, and you can pay your bills comfortably while you're pursuing your dreams, I think that's the smart thing to do. Mm-hmm. Also, do not date your co-stars.
That's fun. You're right. What do they say? Don't play where you work.
Exactly.
Just
I know it's really tempting, and when you're kind of a little method in your acting, you get really close to people and you start developing feelings, but it's not really, guys. It's just acting.
How many years were you on One Life to Live, and how would you describe your time on that?
I was on for almost 5 years, and it was great. I mean, I learned so much. I started out very green, very inexperienced, but came out with a lot of skills and a lot of confidence as an actor, and just learned a lot as an actor and a person. Grew up a lot.
So, well, how would you describe the difference, getting ready to act on a soap opera and then the other projects that you've done? What's the big difference?
What's the difference in what?
What's the big difference prepping for a role for a soap opera and then other projects that you've done that are not in the soap opera world?
There's no real difference in the way that I prepare, but there's a different style with in the acting, different tones to different shows, and a soap opera is sometimes a little more melodramatic, as everyone knows. So they don't really want you to underplay things or play things small. They'd rather you just really go for it, and whereas a film is better if you kind of keep things a little more internal, and because the camera just gets so close to your face and all these different angles, and you don't want to be too big. So yeah, there's just the different tones and different styles, but the way you prep for the role is kind of the same.
What's easier to learn lines on, soap operas or films?
Because I started on a soap, it just helps me with everything, and I've always been pretty good at memorizing. But it really just depends on the character too. I mean, if you're someone I auditioned the other day for a newscaster, and that kind of thing is a lot harder for me to memorize, because when it's just paragraphs of information, it's tougher than if you're having, even a 4-page scene with someone in its dialogue. It's much easier because you kind of you memorize it in a way that you know how to respond to the other character instead of just having to memorize just lots of data. So that's and if let's say if you're working on a show and you're playing a doctor, that's going to be more difficult, having to say all the medical terms and all of that.
So also in the soap opera world, like when you're on set, you're on there for a long time during the day because you have to film a lot of content for the whole week.
Yeah, we would shoot like one episode a day, so it was a full day for sure. And then 40 pages.
Wow. So I mentioned earlier, you've done a lot of projects. What's one that sticks out the most that's been like your favorite? That to this day you still think about it?
I really enjoyed shooting the Onanya Club, which still has not come out. The director is Tom Six from the Human Centipede movies. It's a super dark, twisted story, but the girls that I worked with, we all just clicked. We felt like we were this little club, and like when I said goodbye to them when the shoot wrapped, I was crying my eyes out, and I just, all the women just had such a positive influence on me, and then I got to shoot the remaining scenes in Amsterdam, so I got to travel there, which was incredible. But yeah, I guess they're still looking for the best distribution deal. The director really believes in this project and wants the best for it, so he's holding out until he gets, the best outlet. But I'm so impatient for it to come out. I want everyone to see it.
How many episodes was that?
Oh, this is a movie.
Oh, movie. Okay. I thought I saw earlier that maybe I wasn't thinking of a different show that you've done. Now, you got a new movie coming out, Pool Boy Nightmare. It's going to be on Lifetime. How did you get involved in that film? I've noticed that you've done other films also on Lifetime. Like, how did you get involved with, like, Lifetime itself?
Well, I had worked with, certain directors on other projects, and then they brought me in for these, and then I kind of started working on the Wrong series. But then this one, Pool Boy Nightmare, is a different set of producers, but I had actually worked with this director before on a horror movie. So I knew some of the cast and crew, and I just kind of fell into place in that way. I'm really excited for Pool Boy Nightmare to come out on the 7th. It's going to be a fun one, I think, and I really like the way Rolf Konevsky directed it, with a lot of action and not as much just standing and talking. Like Lifetime movies can be a little soapy in that way. He was all about like action and movement. And Michael Sue, the cinematographer, same with him. He just really executed that nicely.
Now, for the listeners, without giving too much away, tell us a little bit about what the movie's about.
Character Gale is just going through a divorce and moves into a new house. And there, she meets the old pool boy that used to clean, the pool for the other people who lived there, and gives him a job cleaning their pool. And so then he basically seduces my character, and I give in. But then she realizes that it was a mistake because he's way younger than my character. And he gets a little upset about that and starts seducing my character's teenage daughter, which does not sit well with my character. And then it just gets more and more out of control at that point.
Was this a self-tape or was this a live audition?
For this one, it was an in-person audition.
How was
and the director, Rolf?
Go ahead.
I was just saying the director, Rolf, who I'd worked with before, really wanted me for this role, but he needed the producers to see me and everything, so he called me in and I auditioned for them.
Now, you mentioned you played Gale. Like, how would you describe this character?
She's sort of going through a rough transition. She finds out that her husband was cheating, and so she gets a divorce. And she's just trying to start fresh with her daughter. Her daughter takes a lot out on her, so she's not going through an easy time. So she's a little susceptible to seduction and just, wants to kind of forget about all of her problems and make things better in her life.
Did you find any challenges playing this character, or did you find it similar to other roles that you've played?
Well, you know what's interesting is like now, I've been playing a lot of mom roles over the past couple years, and I'm not a mother in real life. So part of that is challenging for me, I guess, because I'm thinking, I guess if I really were a mom, maybe I could relate to the feelings a little bit more. So sometimes I have to do little tricks with myself if I'm doing a scene about, let's say a little like a daughter or something, being really worrying about her or whatever. I think about either my niece, or I think about like a little girl version of myself, or something that I can connect to in a strong way as much as a mother would connect to a child.
How long did it take to film this movie?
This movie was a few weeks, I believe. I can't remember the exact time frame, but 2 or 3, maybe 3 weeks. Yeah, something like that.
How would you describe the vibe on set for this film?
Since a lot of us kind of knew each other, it was, a really fun set, but we also just were really professional and got things done pretty smoothly. So, yeah.
So for Gale, like, what's your favorite thing that you liked about your character in this movie?
I like that Gale is a little flawed. I always like characters that, have, even if they're good people, they have some issues that they're working with. I think, right? Even if you have a good heart, you make mistakes and you have some issues. So I like that about her. She was trying to be a better mom, trying to make a good life for them, and struggling to do that a little bit. So I liked that. I like that realness about her.
So now the movie premieres September 7th on Lifetime, right?
That's correct.
All right. So did you have any other projects that you finished filming before the whole quarantine lockdown that you got coming out?
Yes, I do have another Lifetime movie, The Wrong Fiance, but I don't have an air date yet, so I'll have to update on that. But I thought it was supposed to happen this summer, so it should be soon to hear. But that's, The Wrong Fiance. Not sure when, but yeah, that's a fun little thriller that should be coming out soon.
I mentioned earlier live auditioning a self-tape. What do you enjoy the most out of those two?
I am so happy that it's primarily self-tape now, and it will be probably for a while. I'm so incredibly happy about that. The part of me that used to be shy as a kid is still there, and for me, I feel like at this point in my career, because I have had a bit of experience, most of the time my work, I feel happy about the work that I do when I go into an audition. But I get nervous in auditions sometimes still, just meeting new people, like walking in and meeting new people, and then sometimes that can throw off my audition. So when I can just tape at home and feel comfortable and not have to, kind of win over people, because I'm the kind of person that, like, it takes a minute to get to know me. It's like it's hard for me to just walk into a room and become best friends with people. So it's just good for me to be able to tape it and be like, okay, here's my work, without having to do the whole schmooze thing. I love self-tape. It's perfect for me.
So you've done soap operas, you've done films. Is there something that you're like hungry for more, like a different role or a project that you kind of hope you can get someday, or like a dream role?
Yeah, I mean, I would like to either do based on a true story kind of project, like more straight drama.
Yeah,
I think that could be really cool to tell a real story. To have that kind of responsibility would be really, really interesting. And then also, I guess it would be really fun to play some kind of superhero, like to be able to have some kind of powers.
That's right. Everybody wants to do the superheroes now.
I mean, yeah, I love those kind of movies too. They always have such a great message where, good versus evil, and, how light,
Right.
fights the darkness away. And yeah, I always like the message there.
That's awesome. Jessica, how can the listeners find you on social media?
Let's see. On Instagram, I am Jessica Morris 01. Twitter, Jessica A. Morris, I believe. And Facebook, I'm just Jessica Morris.
Jessica, this was fun. Thank you for coming on the show.
It was so fun. Thanks for having me. Have a great day.
That's a wrap. That's a wrap, everybody. That's a wrap.
Thanks for listening to the Man Cave Chronicles podcast.
I finally get my man cave.
You can find us on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram at the MCC Podcast and our website, themccpodcast.com. Until next time.